And yeah, so we'll just give this a few minutes, guys, and we'll get into it. Hey, Phil, good to see you. And thank you guys for sending through your artworks as well. Normally, they kind of come through during the session, like in bits and bobs, but you guys are organized, you know? It's really cool. Thanks to a few of you guys for reaching out for one-to-one sessions as well. I need to reply to you with dates and times, so gonna do that. Gonna do that. I'll get back to you shortly. Yeah. Okay. I am from up north, so near Manchester. Thanks for asking. I'm not a Londoner. Hey, yeah. Oh, you're from Yorkshire. Okay, nice. Yeah, we like Yorkshire. Oh, wow. Okay, Yorkshire to California is definitely a change in every way. Um, all right, yeah, no, Manchester, yeah, no, Origin, they are very cool guys. Oh, right, you're half French. Blimey. Blimey. Wow, we are global. Okay, everyone, thank you for coming. Some of you very early in the morning, some of you in the evening, every time zone. For those who I think I've met you guys already, everybody, but I'm Harry. Just to remind you, I work with Fanny Lakoubay at Art Advisory, which is an NFT advisory. And I'm also the creative director of the Blockchain Art Directory, which is a 360 kind of learning tool to learn about the history of NFTs and Web3. So it's a pleasure to be here again, and with our very first crypto art critique of the cohort. So thank you for sending your works through. I really appreciate it. And I'll just explain the premise. I know I sent like a Vimeo link earlier today, but the crypto art critique runs in the same vein as a traditional fine art critique, where at some point during a class you would all come together and present one of your works, and normally the artist presents the work and just becomes quiet. That's a bit of a weird way of putting it. Stays quiet whilst the class looks at what they're presenting, and we observe how we feel about what we're looking at, what kind of symbolism is running through the work, any kind of references to artists or kind of influences that might be useful for the artist, and some constructive feedback. You know, if you don't like an element of a piece, speak up. You know, it's all constructive, and so we look at the work for about 5 minutes or so, and yeah, and then we provide feedback to the artist, and they can take that with them if they want, take it into their body of work going forward in the residency, or they can choose to leave it. It's entirely up to you. And yeah, thank you for the questions, Ikasis and Filippo. Yeah, please feel free to place your artworks in this voice chat channel. Oh, it's okay, Espinosa. It's all good. I just ran through the crypto art critique kind of layout, I suppose. It's pretty straightforward, so yeah, we'll get straight into it. And yeah, if you can't speak about your work, please feel free to type in the voice chat channel. I forgot to mention that after we provide our feedback to the artist can explain what their intentions were for the work, and then we move between artist and artist, and that is kind of how it goes. Carolina, you have a question? Uh,
Oh, sorry. Took me a minute to find the unmute button. So one thing that I saw in your video was something about you would show the work and then the artist would leave the room. And I was just wondering about that from a formatting perspective. If we really need to depart so that people can talk about us behind our back, or we can stick
Oh,
around
no,
and just
no,
listen.
no. My apologies. That's my bad. I just meant you just set your mic to mute, and
Oh, okay. Oh,
we will
yeah,
just
no problem.
talk. Yeah, yeah. No, we're not going to be mean. Um, yeah, if you have any questions as well, don't hesitate, everyone, to just put them in the voice channel. I think without further ado, we should start with sun grazers. So Sarah, Terry, and Toby, because it is quite early in the morning for you guys. And yes, I do see if some of you need to leave early, it's totally cool. I know this session goes on typically for an hour and a half, so it's a lot to ask. So just jump in, come out when you like, and it's all good. But, okay, so let's get started. Allow me to just find a song. Sarah, is there a particular piece you wanted me to share today?
Yes, Harry, I'm here with Jerry, who is, we film from helicopters and from drones. And I'm not sure if I can share a video piece here, but I'll try to. And Jerry can certainly talk about the intent behind the piece. I'll
Okay.
just try and share the vid.
If it's easier, I typically share from my screen as well, um, so as to not like make it difficult for you. Okay, thank you. Perhaps if it's okay, Sarah, I could share it from mine.
Yeah, I just shared it to the voice channel as well, above. I'm just not sure whether the video itself will play. But happy
Okay,
for you to do whatever you like, Harry.
thank you. Um, I think I think it should be okay. Yeah. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, so it's 5 minutes. Us just looking at the work and making some quick notes. And then it's 5 minutes of feedback with the artist per artist. So, right, without further ado, I am going to shut up now. And this is Solar Appetite by Sungrazers. Away we go.
The piece does have music, Harry.
Mm-hmm. Can you guys hear? Can you hear um, from my laptop? I had my volume on.
It
Just say,
sounded at one point when you play it on the thumbnail, smaller mode. I think we can hear it. Try it again. It stops.
oh, okay. Maybe for this example, it's best that you load it up on your own screen. I will share my screen, but just for your own experience. Okay, right. Hope we can do that. I can answer questions as well. So, 5 minutes starting now.
Harry, did you want us to talk about it, or are we happy for other people to talk about it?
Yeah. So just after like 5 minutes of us just looking at it and making some notes, I'll introduce you in once we've had a bit of a discussion.
Understood.
Cool. Okay. Does anybody have any first impressions about this work?
I'm so glad my mic was off. I made noises while I was watching it. I couldn't believe
Oh,
how
really?
they
Wow.
I made noises, so many noises.
Were they good noises?
They were noises of being impressed, then holy fuck, then being impressed again, and then tangents around those.
Mm-hmm. It
I
is a
need to
very. Oh, sorry.
I,
Go on.
I need to put my thoughts together because I wasn't planning on speaking, but you asked for reactions and I was trying to be honest.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's great to hear. It's really great to hear. Emily has commented, I love how figurative elements emerge from and melt into abstraction. Also very much like how the experience of the piece isn't unlike looking through a peephole at the world that's somewhat apocalyptic, both familiar and unfamiliar, possibly in the future. I think I totally agree with you, Emily. It just happens that I was watching Ad Astra before this before this critique. It does feel bleak. It feels sad. I think the sound design on this piece is it's very effective. the key. Even it's in A minor, so it has an impression of sadness. What do you guys think about the medium as well? This kind of distorted thing. This, I think it's like a fisheye lens. I can't be sure. How do you feel about it?
Kept looking at second light on a traffic light. That's what I was thinking. The entire time I thought I'm just heading straight on, looking to a traffic lamp on the second yellow one, and I'm like 5 centimeters close to it, and world's happening around me. That's how it made me feel. For the most part.
This was a very like tangible experience for you, wasn't it, Andrea?
Yeah, it was.
So Nominal has commented, it has a very epic and daunting feeling. Something ominous is happening in this physical location, but we're not allowed to know about it because it is obscured to visual transformations. Absolutely. Evelyn comments, there is obviously a road and the circle feels like a wheel and you're going somewhere, but also it has this halo element and suddenly everything goes into light, from light speed into eternity, sun, etc. And Pavel comments, it reminded me of the image of a black hole. I agree with Pavel on that one. I agree with all these comments. I think they are, yeah, exactly. I think the ending sequence is interesting when this piece fades out. It feels like we are being sucked as viewers into this black hole. And yeah, what else have I got? Yeah. So interesting that we think it's a road at the minute. I'm not sure what I thought it was. I feel like I'm on some abandoned industrial complex of some description, maybe by this this kind of constructions that I'm seeing, but I can't be sure. And it's great that let's see, Espinosa comments that they understood what it was about right away before looking at the description, which is what this is like. This is the purpose of the critique. It is great that you get a sense of what you're looking at before you read about it. Really helps. Yeah, so I think maybe just one more, maybe just a couple more observations, and we'll pass it on to Sungrazers to find out what the meaning about.
All right, can I tell something?
Yeah, please.
I liked the piece really much, and I also thought that it's too short. I want it to be a little bit like longer, maybe, because but I had impression of like total burning out, and I really liked it. Music is very beautiful and epic, and it has that really strong sun reference. Yeah, I enjoyed it very much, but it was kind of too short. Thanks.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder what it would feel like if it went on for about a minute or so. Interesting. So we just have two more. Well, we get three more, and then I'll introduce. Oh, Filippo. Sorry.
Hi, Harry. Sorry, can I?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I like how the photography kind of becomes abstract, and it just gave me the idea of the sun and how it can be all powerful, kind of like we need it to survive, but at the same time it could be something terrible. So it gave me like a duality of meaning, and the only thing, like if I'm allowed to be critical, that kind of I would have liked it to be like as Anton said, if it was longer, but I would have liked it to be like a loop kind of, and and the ending, but it's probably just my taste, but the ending kind of the ending so much, but I would have liked it to be more like a continuous kind of thing, but that's just my personal.
No, it's very valid. Thank you. Yeah. So I think we just have a few observations from Altnon. I get the Ivy screen watching us, perhaps judging us. Emily comments, I love Sungrazers to comment on the process of picking colours. I would also like to hear that. Evelyn says that they like the difference between light and dark, warm and cold. And Espinosa adds that it's a great observation regarding time, both for the subject and the quality and mood of the music. So, so I think without further ado, Sungrazers, tell us what it's about.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the comments. Let me just work back through the scribbles I made. As far as the length and looping goes, absolutely agree with you, Filippo. We would love to have made it longer and to loop it, but this was one of our very early works from a couple of years ago. And at that time, the big dominant thing was the file sizes. So we were very limited with file size. Since that, we've gone much longer and looped things. The abandoned industrial complex, yes, indeed. And I'm going to just pin. Oh wow, look at Dave's comment. That's perfect. You are absolutely on it, man. Okay, I'm just going to pin its what would you call it, companion piece, which is where this originated. So the original is an aerial shot transiting across an oil refinery in the UK. It's down at Fawley, Southampton, if you know that down there. And the colours are completely untouched. Those were completely in camera like that. No colour manipulation at all. The initial one that you're seeing there live now is it was called Fossil Sunset, and the idea with that was that the sun is taking over from the fossil fuels that we've been consuming so harshly for so long. And as you can see in what's playing live there, that's the refinery going through the front of the sun. And then we thought, no, let's go more abstract with that. So that first Fossil Sunset was published as an NFT, but we then made Solar Appetite, where we went much more abstract in the way that you saw it first. The idea being there that ultimately the sun will consume and totally put into oblivion our need for fossil fuels. So the whole concept of it, and just picking up on a couple of other things. Apocalyptic, yes, definitely we set out to do that, so really glad you got that. As far as the soundscape goes, we're partnered with a musician called Toby Dundas, and as we mentioned before, he's the drummer with the Temper Trap. Sweet Disposition being their most famous track, but he's a very accomplished composer in his own right, and we just absolutely adore working with him to bring out what we're trying to say. And just to finish up our comments, our mission, our whole sort of raison d'etre is to try and film from the air in a couple of ways. One is we hope it doesn't cross your mind that it's been filmed from the air when we're doing the art pieces. I mean, obviously when we're doing more realistic doco work, then it will look like an aerial, but this is supposed to have movement to it, but it doesn't cross your mind as to how it was shot. And the other part of it is to try and always make you come to the piece and go, wow, this is beautiful. But then when you realise what you're looking at, to stop and go, hang on a minute, this isn't beautiful, this is horrible and apocalyptic and shouldn't be happening like this, and we need to change things. So those are what we feel our two missions are. And Harry, Apocalypse Now, yeah, that's my favourite ever film as a helicopter pilot. You might know that, so thank you for that observation. I think I should shut up now.
Yeah, I think just to add from my side, whilst the piece Solar Appetite is very conceptual, the original piece, Fossil Sunset, which we then digitized and manipulated in that kind of twisted landscape, to give that fisheye approach, is very intentional. So we always kind of write the backstory when, with the comment, with the artist statement. But I really love the fact that some of you guys were saying in your comments that you even understood the intention behind the art before reading the backstory. So thank you for that.
And just picking up on a couple of the written comments, the size of the sun. One of the things that we've tried to pull off all the way through our career, but it really came together in 2005 when gyro-stabilized cameras came out, and what that enables you to do is to zoom and zoom and zoom and zoom to an extraordinary length. We were actually, I think, about 1.5 to 2 miles away from the refinery while we were filming this. And of course, what that does is it foreshortens the distance between the background and the foreground, and so we've spent many happy years playing with that and achieving things like you're seeing there.
Wow. Well, I think everyone's mind has been cracked open by that description and that lens. How is that 2 miles away? That's amazing. Thank you for giving us an explanation. It does kind of, now that you described it with the sun, gives a sense of an apocalypse. And this sense of, being shot from helicopter, I don't get that impression at all. It just washes over me as a viewer. I suppose because it is so well done. And with the music as well, that certainly helps with this sense that you're just embracing this catastrophe in its fullest form. Does anyone have any last observations? Sungrazers, that was amazing. Thank you guys, by the way.
Thank you so much. That was nerve-wracking being the first, but thank you for it.
Just so you guys can get some sleep today,
Oh no, sleep is a thing of the past now we're in the VCA.
Oh God. Yeah, I understand. So just gonna give us a few minutes and then great start to the session.
Sorry, Harry. I was just going to give a bit of also further context. So we've done a lot of work on giant screens, so IMAX, the giant IMAX flat screens, and also domes and planetaria. And in fact, we created that piece back in, I think it was July 21, and it was selected by Ali Sabet to show in Beijing as part of the Stratosphere exhibition. Both IRL and also in the metaverse that they created. So to see that piece on a giant screen is kind of really, I guess, as filmmakers, first and foremost, before NFTs, we'd always think of the display mechanism for the piece. And so generally when I'm tweeting the links, I do always say, please play full frame and full volume.
But it's also fair to say that that show in Beijing was emblematic of the kind of problem we have with our work, because twofold. One is when we've got sound and it's playing IRL, it's very important how that gallery has set it up to be heard as well as viewed. And the other thing is that, as you can see, this was minted as in the landscape aspect ratio, and Beijing cut it to a portrait almost arbitrarily, which was a bit distressing because it ended up looking nothing like how it was intended, which is another pitfall with IRL exhibitions.
And I think just to say on that, to share with the other artists here, what we really learnt from the exhibition side in IRL, as Jerry was saying, is that when we submit our work for open calls, we always ask whether the piece will be exhibited landscape or portrait, and if it's going to be exhibited portrait, we actually do the edit ourselves, so that we've done the framing rather than it being arbitrary. Yeah. But you live and learn, and it's been a great experience.
Thank you so much, Harry.
Thank you, guys. And yeah, this is gospel advice, I have to say. You're clearly very accomplished with just in Beijing. That's fascinating to hear about that crop that they did. Yeah, fascinating. Okay, so I think for the sake of time, thank you so much, Sungrazers. Please rest if you want. One last question from Afroscope. What's the origin of the name Sungrazers?
Yeah, I'll let Jerry answer this one.
It comes from my love of all things up in the sky and extending out into the universe. And the sungrazer is a comet that goes a bit too close to the sun, like Icarus, I suppose. And as it gets closer to the sun, it starts to glow brighter, and then it leaves the sun and diminishes. So it felt like a good name, and we've stuck with it.
But also, just to pick up Afroscope's question, yes, you are right. Our surname is Grayson. And Sun Grazer is a play on that.
I wasn't going to tell them that.
But yeah, no, metaphorically, Jerry was right in saying that, what a sun grazer is literally. And it kind of, I guess, heralds how we feel glowing brighter with our art in this new medium of NFTs.
Very erudite.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. That is some alpha VCA knowledge right there. Okay, everyone. I think I'm going to move on to our next artist. Thank you again, Sungrazers. So I think next, I have a list here of just people who've sent me things in terms of order. So Carolina sent me her work. I think it was earlier today. So I think we'll do that next, if that's okay, Carolina.
Yes.
Super. Okay, I will just open a selection of works in my browser. Thank you for sending this many examples. Okay.
Sorry, it's not just one, because I do work as a in series. So
that's totally fine. That's totally fine. I'll just get them all up. And yeah. Okay. So this is Carolina's series, and we will just make notes for 5 minutes, starting now. Okay, everyone. Do we have some initial ideas for this piece?
Sure. May I speak?
Yeah, please.
So I hadn't seen any of these works before you showed them just now, and I find them really beautiful. Carolina is someone I admire for many reasons I've already expressed, but what I find especially um, potent here is the color. If nothing else, I'd like to think of myself as a colorist, and these colors just really work. Obviously, the composition is also impeccable. Um, and what I find really interesting experientially is that I'm looking at these pieces, and more often than not, when I'm looking at digital art, I'm asking myself the question everyone in this metaphorical room is asking themselves, which is, oh, like, how did they do this? And, what technique, what tool, et cetera, et cetera. And here that sort of falls away. And I love the minimalism and the deep intelligence that shines through. So I just wanted to voice that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ether. Yeah, that is definitely what comes through. I'd be interested to hear what Sungrazers has to say about this, because I think of just when we're on the topic of I don't know, but generally landscape photography. I think these works they appear to come from different angles, different latitudes. What's the feel? How do you feel?
Okay, my turn on this one. Carolina, I love it. I really love these works, and I don't say that lightly because I think one of the things that is a problem with the space that we're in. I don't mean VCA. I mean generally the NFT space is that everybody says, "I love your work. I love your work. It's next level," and then they don't buy it. So I don't say it lightly. I think we all need a bit more criticism and not just heart. I got urban from it. I got deserted urban, but not after an apocalypse. Much more like the peaceful early morning when you get out just at sunrise before the city has woken up. And I thought perhaps the locations were very personal to you. I thought the colour juxtapositions and interaction were just wonderful. And I wrote down process ? Harry, correct, but won't pry too far into that. But apart from that, everything that Ether said, really liked the whole thing, and it's much deeper than its initial simplicity would imply.
So yes, medium ? Pavel has commented that it might be calligraphy, and that usually shows the trails of the sun. However, the same effect can be achieved with normal photography. I thought that these reminded me of photographs you'd get exposed in a red room, a dark room. And they actually also remind me of I don't know if you guys get this, but screen prints, duotone, two-tone, very thin layers. Emily commented that she adores the colours and would like to eat them. They are quite delicious, so I agree. And the merging of images, shadows, and along edges. And yeah, some praise for the empty spaces in these works. So there's an essence of stillness and motion at the same time. Altnon comments a beautiful lysergic journey, and Cross Lucid observes that they're not sure how these were created, but the first impression are the intrusions of light or multiple exposure that you oftentimes experience on Polaroids. Yes, yeah, exactly. And they also convey a sense of virtual afterglow on the retina, creating a very interesting embodiment as if one would be present inside of digital spaces. Thank you, that is a great observation there, Cross Lucid. And yes, sorry, Evelyn agrees as well. It's like two or more images are layered on top of each other, superimposed, and it feels like different paths are present and there are different ways to take it. The colours are also really nice, and it almost feels like a study of colour itself. So yeah, there's quite a few comments. I'll just go through a few more, and we can bring up a few more extra comments whilst we introduce Carolina in a second. But Ikasis comments that it takes them to places. Every piece feels like deja vu. Definitely, yeah. When you zoom, I'm sorry, I only have the privilege of zooming in in this case, but just some of the contours of these outlines, it feels like you're in a very, you're either in a very abstract place or in a very visceral place. Like you definitely recognize these spaces, at least from an emotional perspective. A sense of moodiness, the absence of people or cars makes them feel quite relaxing, and it feels minimalistic and a bit retro futuristic. Emily comments that this is enchanting, these works. I'll just go to another one. It's just beautiful. Just some of these layers that are imposed on each other. Yeah, so it's enchanting, various vanishing points, and a sense of vanishing in general. Dave comments that it's like trying to look into shop fronts. The reflections are too strong. You cup your hands and then you lean upon the window. And I think Filippo, it gave Filippo a sense of nostalgia, like depicting a memory of a place which is slowly fading. And no problem, Nominal. Take your time. We'll be here. And yeah, Anton commented, it reminded them of 2000s graphic design somehow, in a good way. Well, we are speaking to Carolina, so that might be on the money. So I think without further ado, I've talked too much. Carolina, what is this series about?
Well, I think you guys gave me more about it than I even knew. I was kind of making, so I'm using AI. I'm using Midjourney to make images. I'd made a lot of watercolors, and they were all landscapes, no architectural elements. And so in order to get some architectural elements in there, I tried to incorporate, reference some of my own photography of cityscapes or city streets like these. And so it turned out more photographic than watercolor, but I just really enjoyed them. And then while I like the individual images, I did by hand, not using AI, kind of layer them like this. So I made the double exposures by hand, and I felt guilty about the fact that I made the double exposures by hand, that I didn't use AI to do it. And even some of the duotoning, I did by hand, Photoshop-y kind of stuff. So anyway, that's, but the other thing is even though the original image that I used to reference to tell the robot to give me some architectural elements in a landscape view, was not an image from Los Angeles. For me, I called them in my own, folder when I kept them in, I called them LA landscapes. And one of my favorite quotes about Los Angeles is LA is everywhere. And I love it because LA goes outside of LA, like the way the influence of things from Los Angeles go out into the world. And also because when you're in LA, if you've been there, it is a little of everything. It's New York City, but West Coast, there's just a little of everything, and there's just everything and everywhere in Los Angeles. So in making these, I called them LA because they reminded me of being in LA and the speed and the streets and kind of the emptiness. Yes, nobody's walking down the street very often when you're driving through LA. And that feeling of just like, well, it could actually be any urban location that has a lot of car traffic. And you're kind of speeding by, kind of seeing things. Or that shop window idea too. I love that, the reflections in the glass where you see multiple images through the glass. So anyway, yeah, I love what you guys said. Thank you so much for all the comments. I think it all makes sense to me, and I agree.
Super. Yeah, so I'm glad there's a synergy between the feedback and what you've explained, Carolina. Yeah, I've been to LA now. I've been meaning to go for ages. Yes, these are. I think with that quote that you mentioned about LA is everywhere. These definitely give an impression of that. Now that you put that in that context, there is a lot of dynamism in this series of works. Even when a few of us have commented that they feel kind of like calm or lonely, or because there appears to be no cars. And yes, so this is interesting. I think, well, it seems several of us think that combining physical, like superimposing the AI elements on top of each other, we think that's a great thing. I think it really sets it apart in terms of just its materiality and what you can achieve with it. And let's just see what Sungrazers has commented. Yes, I agree. Yeah, most original use of AI to date. And yeah, and Avona Tau. Yeah, totally agree with that. And so I think, does anyone have any final comments for Carolina? Thank you so much again. That was lovely. That was really great.
Yes, thank you all. That's really kind of you to say.
Sungrazers commented, "Are they minted yet?"
No, but now that I've gotten this good feedback, maybe I'll add to the series, because I as I mentioned, I felt a little like guilty about this set because I was like, well, I kind of manipulated those by hand. But I'm being encouraged by you guys that it doesn't matter if you do something like that, so long as your end result is a beautiful, interesting image that communicates things to people, like the kinds of things that you guys have interpreted from them, and that go to some of my intentions as well. So yeah, I think I'll make some more, and I mean they're definitely really fun to make. I love them, and I thought the colors were coming out really beautifully too, so I was happy with the way they're turning out.
Yay, that's a great answer.
I'll make some more, and I'll make them mint, and maybe I'll do a drop and
Yeah, that'd be incredible. You have to share us the link. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you, Carolina. So I think the next person I'm going to look at, if it's okay, is Andrea. If I'll just get the work up. If I can find the work. How are you guys finding this, by the way? Just whilst we're talking.
I love it. I think it's really interesting and kind of exciting to watch all the pieces of artists. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun for me. I like doing it. So I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it. I find it almost too fun sometimes.
I think we might get more out of it if you pick random outputs from the collection on first view. Because GIF gets disorienting.
Yeah, interesting. So maybe if I try this. I don't know, it's just going to give me the same link.
If you can go to the collection just down below from the link and choose any 5, 6 outputs you liked, just on your first. There are 4 pages, so just randomly scroll through outputs.
Okay, super. I'm just going to close my eyes and open a
There are
handful.
4
Okay.
pages. Choose one from each page, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the choice. Okay, I'm gonna go with one more after this then. I'm gonna go with this one.
Have
Okay.
some curation, say, and pick one out of your own taste too, please.
Okay, I'll go to the last one.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay. This is exciting. All right. So if I might just open these in separate tabs so that we don't read the description and bias ourselves before we start. Okay. Okay. So thank you, Andrea, for providing these images. Oh, thank you, Anton. I want this party every day too. Okay. So 5 minutes starting now. Okay. This is a really cool selection of works. Does anyone have some initial impressions? Okay, we have a few. Evelyn comments that it's like looking at the texture. It looks like stable diffusion outputs. Might be wrong. However, they remind Evelyn of prints, and they love the colours. I agree. I think these certainly look like either like risograph prints or screen printing to me. And I love printing. Ether comments that I'm most likely an outlier, and I think focusing on the images is definitely the best format. But I also wish I could somehow read the metadata. That is a good point. Yes, that is a good point. I think we can touch on that when we get to Andrea with the feedback. But that's a great point. Does anyone have any other comments? I think it's lovely. I think it's really cool, this work. Emily comments, the way Andrea marks and strokes a canvas feels quite unique, strong and decisive. She particularly loves the most minimalist one. It's delightful and interesting, despite there being so few shapes and strokes. Sun Grazer's comments, we too love the more minimalist pieces, including your PFP, which I totally agree. It slaps. This one actually reminds me of like Andy Warhol. It's interesting. I'm getting like a selection of influences from these works. I mean, I know it's like a banana, and like it can be like my suggestion couldn't be more obvious, but I'm getting like influences like Japanese art, certainly ideas of like graphic design, just the way I think through this piece. Now, maybe let's see a good example. I feel like things are kept in clipping masks somehow, super layered on top of each other. I mean, when it comes back to printing, I think of like, I think of there being single channels laid on top of each other. It kind of becomes like painting as well. It's really interesting, like a hybrid. The abstract shapes are very explosive, and then they can also be quite calm, which I think is a great contrast from the same body of work. I think this is reminds me of calligraphy, like thick brush strokes, which reminds me of like Japanese art as well. And yeah, just really diverse. Oh, cool! I'm glad Filippo and Ether seem to think. Oh, and Sungrazers too. Nice. Okay, we're on the same wavelength. I thought just looking at the what appear to be color separations, I think of Carolina and her body of work. They seem similar. Yes. Thank you, Ether. It's definitely got a sense of Henri coming through. Ikasis comments, the first one with the 4 quadrants is the favorite, and the one in the black with a black background and the yellow-red combo. The compositions are awesome. Would definitely like to see hanging on a wall of my house. Wow, that's some high praise. That's some high praise. Yeah, so I think thank you for your comments, everyone. Cool body of work, Andrea. You know, the people like it. Maybe I'll just wait for maybe just 1 or 2 more comments, and then we'll give you the floor. Okay. Anton loves number 2 very much. Yes, it is. It's the color. It's the purple. It's just it against the off-white. So good. All right. So Andrea, I think you have the floor.
Yay! Thank you, guys. I felt so seen. First of all, thank you. Could you possibly open the collection link? Because if the description stays in front, it reveals almost everything discussed, written, or out loud.
Yeah?
Yeah, it does. And I shared an image on the chat too, because what the F are milkshake foils, right? Like that for that to mean something, foils needs to mean something, and foils is my body of work. It's my instrument. It's my pun. Instead of saying good morning, I say good foils sometimes. It's everything I do at this point, and it's a collection of abstract works I create. I've been doing it for 4 years at this point. I also shared an image in the chat if people could see it. I don't know if you've seen it. But what are milkshake foils? I realized really recently that Midjourney has a feature to blend. And I was fascinated by this. I realized, oh my God, it does that. Then at some point, I realized, oh, what if I put my own works? And then it gave me Frankenstein's. I didn't like them. Then I asked, what could I do to make them better? And I ended up making new artworks that I never minted or really shared. I'll send one of those in the chat too. And they became like my flavors. So I started making one foils and one of the new never shared, never minted works as the vanilla, strawberry, whatever flavors, and I would start making milkshake. And I call them milkshakes because, just like the description asks, when you sip a great milkshake, you never say, "Ooh, what a fancy blender." I kind of wanted to steal the thunder from the AI, while it really is the showman here. But it's a complex issue. Like, who's the artist work? Because I have like about 1,000 of these. At this point, the collection itself becomes the curation of the individual person in the process. I talk a lot. Sorry, I ramble on.
No, Andrea, I love this description of this series. It's brimming with energy. Ether, yeah, again brings up the interesting point, the constructive point, reiterating the value of metadata and narrative behind the work. So it's interesting hearing you talk about AI being kind of like the artist. Well, no, I'm not sure really how you'd phrase it. The showman.
I tried to be as naked as I can, saying it's a blender. It's my take.
Fair enough. And I suppose it's no different, I suppose, from like when Carolina is superimposing traditional mediums on top of AI. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that at all. In fact, I think there's, if you don't mind me saying so, some space for collaboration between you guys, maybe, with your work. And yeah, it's just fascinating. Even this work you've shared in the voice channel, I think that's beautiful. All of like the intricate
they're all foils, and what I continue to see and repeat in my work is the multi-layered randomness, because you can never take the same photo of the same aluminum foil's fold. You can't repeat that. So anytime you try to do something like that, you're bound to have a random output in the same language, and the steps afterward becomes the algorithm, the person learning it, going insane.
It sounds like worth going insane for. So just one, I think maybe just one comment to pass on from some grazers. From Ether as well. It feels, before you gave an explanation, it feels homogenous, so it's good to see that is running through the work. It comes through. And yeah, some grazers commented, as a collection, it looks like an alphabet. And Hereticulous, that's what Ether has mentioned. Thank you so much. I think maybe just one last comment, and then we'll pass it on to our next artist. Interesting, Anton. Thinking it was, I'm not sure. It's interesting. It does illustrate a kind of materiality, I guess. But it's interesting to see that it's not. Interesting blend. Okay, so thank you so much, Andrea. I hope that was constructive for you. I mean, I think everyone here has got a sense that it feels Japanese, has elements of graphic design in it, elements of 60s influences in it, and just a very, it has a very minimalist kind of style, and it's working. It very, very rounded series. Yeah. Okay, so nice. I think, our next artist. I think we'll go on to Pavel, because Pavel sent their work quite early to me today, which I appreciate. And then we'll have to unfortunately round up today's session. Maybe we'll be able to fit one after Pavel, but we'll see. We'll see. And of course, don't worry, we have another 3 of these coming up, so there's plenty of time for everyone. And thank you so much for sticking around, just to hear everyone's comments. It really means a lot. Okay, let's just find Pavel's work. Yes, so this is the AR piece. This is a good way to end our session today. Okay. So I'll just close these. Okay. Pavel, am I okay to... Is this all right to show this footage?
Yes, absolutely. This is the recording, the screen recording of the camera, phone camera. That shows how the AR actually behaves because, well, okay, I'm not supposed to say anything, but it's an AR experience, so you should actually take your phone and have some fun with it around you. So I will post a direct link to LiveScript on my server. If you have an Android phone, then it's super simple. It should work right away on Chrome. If you have Android, you might need another browser. If you have Apple, If you have Apple, you might need WebXR browser, but the site should tell you what to do, hopefully.
Thank you. Okay. Is this going to be okay for everyone? I am just going to try and access it on my phone, my Apple. And I'll keep this playing as well. And of course, there's this link here. So, let's just see how it goes. Available in Chrome browser on device running it. Interesting. Pavel, is it? I'm just wondering. Is it okay? I feel so bad. I'm not sure everyone has the resources to look at this. I should have probably let everybody know. Is it okay if we go to this one next in our next session?
Absolutely, no problem. I mean, I had a feeling we might end up like this. So no problem, really. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I promise we'll come to you first thing next, in our next session.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess in that case, if I find Cross Lucid, is it okay if I pick your work next?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Although we were so wanting to see. Well, why is it not possible to see the AR experience?
It seems as though like we would have to get our phones out, every one of us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I should have told you guys. Excuse me. Okay, so Crosslucid, did you send it to me? I can't quite remember where.
Yeah, on the sixth cohort Discord chat.
Grand, thank you. Okay. Yes, he did. Thank you so much. Okay. Am I right to pick any piece or?
It's actually a series
Mhm.
of sigils that are connected together. But
Okay.
if it's easier to choose a piece,
Yeah, it's from a constellation.
we are happy.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I think I'll just at random pick 4 words. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. So sorry about that, guys, about the wait. So Crosslucid, and their series. So 5 minutes starting now.